Good evening, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the 29th edition of Alabama Primetime Live. All right, here on Alabama Voice College Football from yours truly, Jetson Johnson, and Georgia Bulldog Live co-host at Georgia The Voice College Football, Bo Underwood, and frequent guest of the Chase Thomas podcast and Georgia Voice College Football co-host, Matt Green, as we all go over our take on the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens, Georgia, Saturday, September 27th, 2025 on ABC, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Let me tell you something, folks. You're going to be in for a wild ride. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
Excellent, man. It's good to be here in enemy territory.
Oh, man. We thank you for coming on, gentlemen. I will say it's going to be a fun ride. And before we get things started, we've got some YouTube memberships to tell you about. From Alabama with the Voice College Football for $2.99 a month. We've got the Crimson Faithful membership tier for $2.99 a month, where you'll have a loyalty badge next to your name and in the comments in the live chat, custom emojis to use in the comments in the live chat, and you get a member shout out. For $4.99 a month, you can become a Save a Disciple, and you'll have priority replies to comments and access to a monthly hangout from yours truly, Jetson Johnson, Jeffrey Doing Talk Sports, and Coach Smith Hines. And for $9.99 a month, you can become a Bear Bryant legend by connecting on social media with each of us and give out content requests of any kind. And neither rain nor sleet nor snow nor this miserable rainy weather will stop us from fulfilling your content request, all right here on Alabama The Voice College Football. And that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Crimson Tide merch. And to show kindness to these gentlemen, we have been like, you know what? We got some Bulldog merch. Ooh, gentlemen, you know what you're going to get for when it gets close to birthdays and such? You know what you're getting?
Getting Voice of College Football merch.
Yeah. But what kind of merch? Want a good hat? Want a good what's something you want to get? Well,
we'll start. I'll let you start, Bo.
Oh,
or was that rhetorical?
Yeah. Wait, what was?
Oh, well, we got hats, t-shirts, polo t-shirts, tumblers, game day muds, can coolers. We got it all. But
big fan of the dad hat.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Oh,
that's
there we
the name,
go.
Right?
Yep. That's the dad hat. Here we go. There you go. What you think? Ooh. Colorful, isn't it?
I definitely like the black.
Oh, man. Blackout for a knockout, huh?
Oh, man. Not that I'm trying to open that can of worms. But, hey, you know what? If they want to do it, I'm all for it. It's like what's the term? Hair from the dog that bit you, right? Like just own it.
Oh, man. But I will say, though, tell your friends, family, and the cashiers a post about the magic that the Crimson Tide Voice College Football merch will be bringing you, and the magic that the Georgia Voice College Football merch will be bringing you. And if there's any items that are not there that you want to see but hope to see, contact Mark Rogers at markrogers@gmail.com or contact Voice College Football at voicecollegefootball@gmail.com, where you can get all kinds of stuff. All righty, gentlemen. So we've got some position battles we need to look out for from the Crimson Tide and the Bulldogs. And I keep thinking about what were the weaknesses, like for those that are just learning about the Bulldogs and the strengths, like what is something everybody needs to look out for in the position battles on Saturday night?
Well, I would say the first thing to look at after the Tennessee game, which, is Georgia's first real test, is Georgia's cornerbacks. There were a lot of times where they were on an island against Tennessee receivers, and they just got burned with the ball in the air, whether it was by Chris Razzle, just going crazy and winning a one-on-one against Ellis Robinson and Daniel Harris, or just a coverage bust that allowed the Staley touchdown. It was just a bad game from Georgia's cornerbacks for a lot of the time. You just saw a lot of mistakes, and that should be concerning for Georgia, considering that's kind of how they lost to Alabama last year. Couldn't play the ball when it was in the air, and they allowed that freak touchdown to Ryan Williams at the end. So I know those are different players. Or Julian Humphrey is not there anymore. KJ Bolden still is, but that's something I think should be the biggest concern. Is just Alabama's got two really good players at receiver, and Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. They have a guy named Ryan Williams who just kind of does this thing, like he just goes crazy in these kinds of moments. George has seen it before, so that's the biggest thing I would look at in this game.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing I'm most concerned about as well. Is not only were both DBs getting burned, I guess not both, but both of the cornerback twos were getting burned. Like Georgia still hasn't solidified that position opposite Dalen Everett, and not only were they getting burned, but it felt like Ryan Williams last year, the way they were doing it, just kind of the little hectic plays where they were falling down and the receivers making the play with no one around him, basically, or running the end zone, no one around him. Just it gave me PTSD from Tuscaloosa a year ago. So, but the biggest thing I want to see is me and Bo have talked all year about Georgia's linebacker group. Like it's just, I think it's the best position group on the entire team. And with how Alabama struggled to run the ball so far this year, like if Georgia's linebackers are as dominant as they kind of should be, I think that's huge if they can make Alabama one-dimensional. But there's a chance Ty Simpson throws the ball 40 times and Alabama beats Georgia that way with what the secondary's been so far.
And Coach Smook is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing today, good buddy? I'm doing mic check. But I will say while we wait, I've been kind of keeping an eye on the running game, but I know like the passing game has been fantastic. Like we've had a fantastic passing game, especially in games like losing Monroe, Wisconsin. I mean, I know like some people are just kind of like, it's not that impressed, but what I saw,
Bluetooth connected.
What I saw, okay, what I saw was Ty Simpson had more trust in his instincts in weeks 2 and 3 than he did week 1. He was a lot better in the past 2 weeks than he was week 1. I mean, like he trusted himself a little more than he did week 1. And, he's putting up video game numbers. And if he can do that against Georgia, that's going to help the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we have to make sure we get our running game going a little bit, especially with Jam Miller coming back. And, we've got like all our other guys at running back just rocking and rolling, getting all set. I'm excited to see what this game can bring on Saturday night.
I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a big one, man. Can y'all hear me good now?
Yeah.
All right. What's up, fellas? I'm sorry. I thought we had a different start time. That's on me. I was over there doing some other content, man. We got to finish up a series on NCAA. So I was over there trying to get at least game 1 started tonight. But y'all, check this out, man. I jumped in on the tail end and everything. Thank y'all for having me once again. Thank y'all for joining tonight. My Georgia fellas, we got Bo and my guy Matt, man. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for this week to come. And I heard what you all said about, the different advantages, the different things that you think will be keys in this victory. But I don't know if anybody said it. We know this game is literally won and lost in the trenches. And in years where both, which is very rare in the last 4 or 5 meetings, Georgia has tended to have a dominant defensive front, an experienced defensive front. Alabama is tending to have, problems on their offensive line or, weak spots on their offensive line. And this year, I think you're starting to see it trend in the opposite direction where we see Georgia's D-line is not the D-line we're used to them having, right? They're not getting as many sacks. They're not getting as many pressures. And you see Alabama's offensive line starting to solidify itself and create a certain type of presence or protection presence for Ty Simpson that's allowing this passing game to be as electric as it's been, and efficient as it's been. So it's going to be a tale of the trenches for me. And I think when you look at it, man, just at that matchup, Georgia's D-line and Alabama's O-line, that's going to be a key factor in this game. Whoever can start to win that one early and establish that push in the run game, and I'm talking about for Georgia, if they play light box, Alabama should be able to average, anywhere from 3.5 to 4 yards per carry on the inside zone running game to say that that's a successful run game and being able to maintain that play call balance is going to be dependent upon what this O-line could do early on in this game. So I look forward to be a good one, man. I think Georgia be coming out ready, and I think Alabama's offensive line is primed for this one.
Yeah, I think the run game is like we all get caught up with the passing numbers and everything, and Ryan Williams and how improved this Georgia receiver group is, but Kirby Smart is 1-6 against Alabama, and the team that has won the rushing matchup has won every single one of those 7 matchups. Like, so it's definitely going to come down to that once again. And obviously Georgia was able to win. Gunnar Stockton was able to throw for 300 yards against Tennessee, but I think it was the 198 on the ground that allowed them to just keep Tennessee honest. And Gunnar Stockton's got to be a part of that attack for Georgia. But that's one thing I'm interested in, because all these other teams for Alabama that have given Georgia trouble on the road or on the ground have had a running element for the quarterback. And Ty Simpson isn't a statue, but he's not Jalen Milroe or Tua or Bryce Young, you know?
No.
Yeah, I'm interested to see it, because I feel like Garner Stockton has utilized his legs to help this Georgia run game. To be honest, I've been looking across some of the coverage here on Georgia, and a lot of people are kind of saying what Alabama fans are saying. They feel like the run game isn't effective, and I don't know, man. When you look at the way that Mike Bobo has kind of been traditionally established his play call, especially in big games. This is the type of game where the 4-2-5 Kane Womack style of run defense is built for, not the read option where you're going to try to attack the perimeter. Those with your running quarterback. So I think it's going to be harder for Gunnar Stockton to be effective in the run game with his legs in this game, knowing that this defense is kind of more designed to defend that style of running quarterback. Now you get into the schematics of Georgia covering Ty out the box. The difference between last year and this year, or the last 2 times we've seen Georgia and Alabama play, is they've had a specific spy element in just about every designed defensive play call. We've seen them literally make sure they had a spy somewhere in that second level trying to spy Jalen Milroe. What type of adjustments do we see, knowing that you have a quarterback that can utilize his legs, but more so is a pocket presence and want to utilize his arm? And how does that affect with the type of pressures we see? Because I think in order to really disrupt Ty Simpson, Florida State climbed the line of scrimmage and he still threw for 60%. So completion percentage, so no turnovers. And I think he's a lot more comfortable now. It's going to be a task, man. It's a lot of things that I see as far as advantages that Alabama are coming to this game with. But that's one of the key factors. You stated it, man.
Yeah, I feel like Alabama's running game is also just going to look a lot different in this game, no matter what, than what it did last year, because you have, yes, like Milroe was the rushing threat, but like I feel like even more importantly than that, like Milroe was really their only source of rushing at all against Georgia last year. He was destroying them in the first half of that game, but like Jam Miller really wasn't doing a ton in that game, and it's big getting him back now. But it's like it's just going to be a whole different type of scheme for Alabama in that game that they're going to have to be prepared for. And Georgia on the other side doesn't really have the guys up front on the defensive line that they had last year, but like their inside linebackers, I still feel like are good enough on the second level to like where they're going to put a lid on the run most of the time.
We hope.
I've seen some things, some similarities between Alabama's inside linebacker room and Georgia's. One thing is, and this is a surprise for me. We've seen Georgia for probably the last 6-7 seasons, man. The inside linebacker room just produces first round talent. You have the next first rounder up. So I think this year you actually have some guys that are still developing. As much as they are veteran presence, I don't think that they're at their peak or they're peaking in their development. So being called to play a lot more reps and being a lot more impactful moments, I think right there is where you're going to see the kind of the test between compared to Alabama's linebackers. You talking about Nakai Hill-Green, who just came from Colorado, over 400 snaps in his career. Deontay Lawson in his 5th year, Justin Jefferson in his 3rd year at Alabama. So we're talking about just a contrast of presence and then effectiveness Both teams are struggling with missing tackles from that position. I know Alabama's game 1 against Florida State, of the 14 missed tackles, the inside linebacker core accounted for, I think, 8 of them, 8 out of the 14. And you're talking about those are your guys that are supposed to be doing the run fits on the interior run game. That's supposed to be keying off or keying to the quarterback in the option read, whatever. The assignments are, the keys are, these are the guys missing the most tackles. And we haven't seen that problem in the past 2 weeks. Can we continue to see the effective tackling for the Alabama inside linebacker room? And then they just got to fly around. If we see effort from this Alabama inside linebacker room, same with Georgia, this could be the type of game we expect it to be when it comes to the performance from our inside linebackers.
Agreed. And I kept thinking about like Gunnar Stockton, how he was performing against Tennessee. What was going through your mind, gentlemen, like in the fourth quarter of that matchup against Tennessee? Because that could be a key to how Alabama stops Stockton. And, because like whatever Tennessee was doing in the first half, that's definitely going to be the key for Alabama right there.
I'll let Bo go first because I think I know what he's going to say.
I mean, Gunnar Stockton in the fourth quarter, I just thought was really big time. I mean, he went into this game with a ton of concerns about his ability to throw the ball downfield. He went into he went into the game with a ton of questions about his level of confidence overall. And there was just a weird feeling about him. Like Kirby Smart had said that, he wanted to see Gunnar recreate in the games what he had been doing in practice. And it's like, after you hear that, against Austin Peay is just kind of weird, but he was so huge in that fourth quarter. He hits that beautiful back shoulder pass to London Humphreys on 4th down for the touchdown with their back against the wall and everything on the line. And like, you don't want to get caught up in one game like that too much. But I think when you're looking for like a real quarterback that you feel like you can win with and you can trust in those moments, stuff like that is what you need to see.
Yeah, and I'll steal Bo's line here because he didn't say it, what he said on our show, but I don't think we've ever changed our opinion on a player more after one game than we did with Gunnar Stockton in that Tennessee game. Because all off season, the game I was most worried about, and I said it this way all off season as well. Tennessee could be the 4th or 5th best team Georgia plays for all we know by the end of the season. But that was the number one game I was like most concerned about all off season, just because of it being behind after 2 cupcakes. It's essentially the first game of the season. You're going on the road in Neyland Stadium with a quarterback making his first SEC start of his career. Like we obviously saw him against Notre Dame in the college football playoff. Like he's still the backup, and we saw him in the second half of Texas. But this was the first real game I felt like kind of with Gunnar Stockton as QB1 at Georgia. And I mean, he definitely responded. Like just that play to London Humphreys, the hump nail boot, as we're trying to start that trend, was just such a massive play. And it just a perfect throw, perfect catch. Like I haven't been a part of a Georgia moment like that. I feel like it's been in a long time of just a game where it did not look like Georgia was going to lose or that Georgia was going to win, and you pull it out on 4th and 6.
Yeah. But I will say it's going to be fun seeing all these position battles on Saturday. It's going to be quite a shootout on Saturday, but we'll definitely dive into that later tonight. And before we go on to our next topic, who's somebody we should go to for some predictions, gentlemen? Coach, what do you think?
Shoot, we got a guy. Tell him who it is, Jackson. Tell him who it is. We got a guy.
Oh, I know a guy. Bo, you know that guy? Matt, you know that guy? Because I think we all do.
I know a guy.
Yeah. He's the doppelganger of Mark Rogers.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole show stopper. 7 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
That's what you do. If you want some top-notch predictions for college football, go to Mark Rogers, Matt Zemek from Trojans Wire, and USC Primetime Live on USC at the Voice of College Football and College Wire. Steve Dace from the Michigan Podcast, and Corey Bratta from Iowa Hawkeyes Live on Iowa at the Voice of College Football and from the Hawkeye of the Storm. All righty, so we've got some players to watch for on Saturday. And we'll let the guests go first. We'll go with Bo to start things off for the Bulldogs, and then we'll go with Matt.
Am I just saying one player?
Ooh, let's hear it.
No, am I just supposed? Am I picking one player, or like am I supposed?
Oh, there's any amount.
Okay, I mean, I'll start with one, and then I guess we can just go around. But I would say Chris Cole, because I think the biggest question in this game is if Georgia's pass rush can get home with 4 rushers against Alabama at all, because we've seen Ty Simpson, when he's comfortable and when he's chilling in the pocket, like he's been pretty on the money this season. So Georgia has a huge question about its pass rush. They didn't really get to Joey Aguilar many times in the Tennessee game, and I think of all the guys on Georgia's edge, the guy with the biggest potential to just have a huge game is Chris Cole. He's just the most dynamic athlete. They use him in a lot of different ways. He's been compared to Jalen Walker for his versatility, but I really think his best aspect might be his pass rush ability on the edge. And this just seems like the kind of game where they would need a big performance from him.
Yeah, Bo kind of stole mine, but I'll try to move on here. I think we might have a man crush on Chris Cole, like the potential this dude has. And I think you guys have probably seen the stat that Georgia's defensive linemen have not recorded a sack to this point in the season. So I think if Georgia's going to create pressure, it's got to be from that linebacker group. But mine will probably be, I'll say Nate Frazier, because as big as I would say Zachariah Branch was obviously that guy in the Tennessee game that was the difference maker. I think you're going to need to get a good performance from the receivers, but like we were kind of saying earlier, like the winner of this Alabama-Georgia game is the team that runs the ball better. And if Nate Frazier holds onto the football, but if he can get going, he's flashed at times, and I think if Nate Frazier can have a big game, that'll go a long way for Georgia.
Okay.
I like that. I like both of those picks for y'all, especially with you guys keying on the offensive side of things. For the Nate Frazier pick, I was going to pick our running back core. I can't necessarily pick one, being that this is a running back by committee, but I think if you had to have a group to watch, I think it'll be our running back room, especially with Jam Miller being back. I don't think he'll get a heavy load, but what type of looks does he force, and how does Ty Simpson adjust to those? I think the running back room is going to be key to Ty Simpson's success this weekend. Effectiveness in the run game. Alabama's offensive line has surprisingly, if you go back and watch the Florida State game, they were getting a solid push in the run game. The play calling, we got away from the run game way too early. And Ryan Grubb even acknowledged that. So I think if we can get a similar type of energy and motor from this offensive line, the running backs will thrive. We've seen them kind of settle down behind, Jam Miller was the most veteran guy. Out of that room, we saw a lot of eager running, early in the season against Florida State. And I think with Kevin Riley, he just was the most patient runner, and that's who was the most effective. And that's why you see him starting to emerge as kind of RB2. In this running back rotation. So I'm looking for that running back room and that running back rotation to get active on the offensive side. And defensively, the secondary, I think this is going to be a big game for our secondary. one in particular, Bray Hubbard. I think he's going to be your quarterback's menace for this game. The way that we're able to, based off of a lot of the sets that Georgia runs in their offensive sets, a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end sets. Bray Hubbard's going to be playing close to the line of scrimmage a lot in this game. He's going to be in the box in that overhang area, and I think it's going to be active. I think it's going to be an active night for him, and I think he's going to be a game changer for us on the defensive side. So running back room and Bray Hubbard, those are like the 2 areas to watch for Bama, in my opinion.
I think that's a good call because that's where I would be the most concerned. If Alabama's running the ball well, because like I was kind of saying earlier, I think there's a chance that Alabama just has to throw and they can still beat Georgia. So if Alabama's actually running the ball well, I'll be really concerned that this game will be played in the 40s or something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Matt, because I mean, some guys we're definitely obviously looking for to watch is Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. I mean, those are the obvious ones, but Josh Cuevas, the tight end, he's a guy to look out for. And on defense, Deontay Lawson, because like last year, he dominated against Georgia on Saturday night with Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and the dog watching the game as well. I mean, like Lawson had 10 tackles with 2 for a loss and a sack last year against Georgia. What's he going to do against Georgia again this year? We will definitely find out and see. But Deontay Lawson, and you mentioned yourself, Coach, Bray Hubbard. I mean, he was player of the week for the SEC for week 3 with the performance he was having against the Wisconsin Badgers. Like he's been a team player all this season. I mean, these guys like are going to be amazing throughout Saturday night.
Yeah, and we probably haven't talked enough about Georgia's offensive line as well. Like the right side of Georgia's O-line is a big time concern.
We don't know.
And that's what I was going to highlight too. Kind of looking at Alabama's defensive line. You know, last week was probably the best week as far as completing pressures, but this is a team that's been getting pressures on quarterback. Florida State only dropped back 17 times, I believe, in that game, and they I think they went like 14 of 17 or 9 of 14, something like that. They didn't drop back a lot. So our quarterback pressure rate, it didn't look like it was worth anything in the books, but you saw the type of pressures we was able to create against Wisconsin. They were struggling, their offensive line. And Kane Womack came out this week and said in the post-practice interview in prep for Georgia that the play calling has been a little timid and look for it to be a lot more aggressive. So I think that works in 2 ways. You know, you got a first-year starter quarterback in Gunnar Stockton in his first big game of the season, a conference game that's going to, you know, really impact how this season is shaped out for, you know, I believe for Georgia. This is another test for them at home. And then you got a team in Bama that's out to prove something. They've already taken their lumps early against Florida State, and they got a lot of experience. So their approach to this game might be a little bit more steady than people are expecting. So I think there's going to be a lot to look at that right side, whatever offensive line rotation or combination you have. That's Quay Rusaw's side. You know, that's Quay Rusaw and Yanzi Pierre rotating over there. That's you see a lot of James Smith coming off from the interior on that side. It's probably the stronger side of our blitz packages when you're talking about getting run fits and blitz accomplished. That's probably the side where you're going to see the most effective pressure from. So it's going to be interesting to watch that matchup.
Oh, indeed, it will be. I mean, because like, were there any other names that we left out for Saturday night's matchup? Because I keep thinking there's a few more that we have not talked about yet.
I mean, I have one for Georgia. I wanted these guys to kind of talk about them. Colby Young seems to be kind of getting a lot more comfortable in that wide receiver core. Big receiver, a veteran presence. Your whole receiving core is veteran guys. That your primary guys are veteran guys. I think the youngest guy like recorded stats right now is true freshman Taylor, number 11, I believe.
Yeah.
So
He was a 5-star coming out.
Exactly. So you got a lot of talent in that room. But Colby Young is a guy that I think can give us problems if we don't have personnel, if we don't match personnel properly. like we've seen our defense do in the past. What are y'all thoughts about Kobe Young emerging?
Yeah, I think he was active against Alabama last year and obviously was the intended receiver on that final interception to end the game. But once, he had the legal situation and everything unfold and he was suspended for the rest of the year, Georgia just lost a complete, one-on-one win jump ball, contested catch, X receiver. They just didn't have that element of their offense at all. They had Dylan Bell out there playing the X, and that's just not really what Dylan Bell does, well, at least. So, he comes back in this year, and they go to him first play of the game, big shot play down the field against Tennessee, 45-yard gain to Colby Young. Like, they're comfortable with letting him be the guy make those kinds of statement plays, and I think that is a big deal. I think overall, I was going to say Zachariah Branch for a similar reason, just because I think overall Georgia just has different types of dudes at receiver than they did last year. Arian Smith was a deep threat, and he had that big play threat element to him, but he was mostly kind of a one-trick pony, and he struggled with drops. He dropped a big pass in that Alabama game. So it's just, I think Zachariah Branch is just a kind of a superstar kind of player. He's just the guy that moves differently from everybody else. He just hits that top gear a little quicker than anybody else does. And I think Georgia has receivers that can change the game, and they just didn't have that last year.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. Arian Smith is like a home run threat, but he's also like a lottery ticket. Like you don't even know. You're just thrown up there. Maybe you'll catch it, maybe you won't. But yeah, I feel like Georgia's receiving core. That's what I was gonna say as far as more people to watch, because they're just so much different this year. And it's not even like they're a bunch of first round picks. Maybe Zachariah Branch is, but it's not like they're just like elite of elite. This isn't Ohio State's receiving core or anything. But they're just deep with really good players. It's just, my prediction coming into the year was that our leading receiver was going to be Noah Thomas, who's A&M's leading receiver a year ago. And I think he has like one catch through the first 3 games this year. So he's hardly done anything. I'm sure that dude, he didn't forget how to be 6'6" and super athletic. Like, I'm sure he's going to make a play at some point for Georgia this season. And then obviously London Humphrey, we haven't even named, who's made the biggest play of the season in that group. But yeah, and Dylan Bell, like Bo said, he was almost just in a bad position a year ago, and he's more of a gadget guy. And I feel like with how deep Georgia's receiving core is this year, he's back to being like the 3rd or 4th option. And I feel like he's a really good 3rd or 4th option. And I haven't even talked about the tight ends. Like, the tight ends are obviously, it's not Brock Bowers, but Georgia always has good tight ends.
Oh, 100% agreed. I mean, I can't wait to see what that offense is going to bring.
I would. Oh, you mind if I want to talk about the matchup, man, because they talked about the depth of the wide receiver room, and I think that's kind of like a strength coming into this season that Alabama was excited about, the veteran presence returning for the secondary. You got a lot of 0-man lock guys in our secondary. I look at the depth chart right now, and I'm thinking about, a lot of these Georgia sets, the tight end splits that you all run. I think this game this year, the secondary has an opportunity to really emerge because you guys are that much more confident in your receiving core. So we're going to see a lot of opportunities for this secondary to be impact players, and this vision coverage usually gets young quarterbacks, in a lot of trouble late in the game when you start running some of those mixed coverages where you got your man underneath and you're rolling robber coverage over top. Keon Sabb is a specialist when it comes to that robber technique, and he gambles, really hard. And sometimes, and if Gunnar Stockton is able to key on that or is not able to key on that, that's gonna hurt Georgia. That's going to hurt Georgia. This team is going to come out. Mike Bobo is going to be under pressure early to establish some momentum, and I don't think he's going to have the patience to do it in the run game. If Alabama's coming out and they come out and tackle effectively, I think that matchup there, the wide receiver against the secondary, and I think Damani Jackson is going to have an opportunity to showcase his first-round talent this year. I don't think Gunnar Stockton is going to shy away from trying any one of these DBs in the secondary. But once again, with Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb and this one high robber technique that Kane Womley just continues to run. I think they're becoming a lot more comfortable with their language and communication across the board. And I haven't seen, and y'all can attest to this if you want to, or correct me. I haven't seen any extravagant pass concepts or like a lot of things that Georgia do in their passing scheme are still semi-traditional, and them having the better players at those positions this year, it shows that they have better players at this position, because when they had, mid-level guys at receiver or mid-level quarterback production, it showed because of the offensive design So I think this year that matchup will actually be able to expose itself. And vice versa. I think Alabama's wide receiver core, even though young, I think we're a lot more talented. And against Georgia's secondary this year, they've struggled, man. Let's just be honest. Georgia's secondary has not looked like Georgia's secondary, and I think it's due to the youth on the defensive front. It's a lot of young guys in that front that's getting starts, getting impactful minutes, not able to get pressure as you're used to being able to do, and watch your DBs kind of progress through the season as your front is dominated. Georgia doesn't have that luxury this season. Is this the wrong time to be facing a Ty Simpson that's hot and this receiver core that's really building some confidence? This might get ugly for Georgia if they can't get pressure up front. So,
well, there's one guy, I forgot the name from that offense that we've got, Lazier Brooks. Man, he's gonna be fun to watch. Like, it's like can't get to Williams, can't get to Bernard. You can always go to Brooks. Boom.
Yeah, I feel like Jeremy Bernard is the guy that almost gets forgotten about with how much hype Ryan Williams gets. But in terms of what you're saying about Alabama's DBs versus Georgia's receivers, I think that's definitely a concern. Like, I think Bobo gets way too much hate. That's another story for another day. But Georgia in that screen game against Tennessee, I think it was like 11 screen plays for like 125 yards or something. Like, they were absolutely destroying them with the screen game. Like, Georgia fans love to hate on the screens. It's like, well, they were working a lot, and they also ran a little fake screen where London Humphrey kind of just peeled out instead of blocking, and he ran a wheel route down the sideline. It's like that's set up by just gashing them with the screen game the whole day. But we all know Tennessee was replacing their top two corners 2 weeks ago when they were playing Georgia and starting a true freshman on one of those sides. And Georgia was definitely picking on that true freshman. He was the one that gave up that long play to Colby Young. He was the one that gave up the final touchdown to London Humphrey. So an experienced Alabama secondary, I don't know. Those windows might be a little tighter for Gunnar Stockton in this one.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what Brooks will bring on offense. And there's one guy on our offensive line, Jaden Roberts. That's another guy right there. I cannot wait to see more of action from Mr. Roberts for sure.
Matt, Bo, what's your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being not confident, 10 being, confident, very confident. As far as defensive line production, do you think Kirby relies on trying to contain the run game with 4 and get pressure on the quarterback with a majority 4-man front play call pressure type look, or do you think he sees early on the adjustments? I just don't think with the front, the lack of depth in that front rotation, to me is a concern for Georgia this year, because that's been their bread and butter the last 4 seasons. So what are your thoughts or your confidence level going into that, and kind of expound on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to the rating in a second, I guess, but because I think I gotta talk about it out loud to kind of convince myself of what I think. But I think it's fair because to say that this is not the same level of just set it and forget it as far as send 4 guys and rely on that pass rush that Georgia has benefited from in years past. There's not a Jalen Walker, Michael Williams type of guy on there that you can point at in September and say that guy's going in the first round. And you look at this season, I know they've played 3 games so far. The only 4 guys on their team that they got 4 sacks, and they're all from inside linebackers. They're all on blitzes, So yeah, Georgia's only sack production this year has been on blitzes. They statistically have not gotten home with those fronts. So I would have to say it's probably at a 3 or a 4, just because, Matt and I were talking about that before the season. We knew that in camp, the Damon Wilson loss was going to really be a big deal. That was really going to be felt. And you're seeing that right now. They're going to have to rely a lot on Gabe Harris. They've relied a lot on, Elo Madozi, who's a late spring transfer out of Army. Then they've got, Chris Cole, who rotates in there sometimes. But like, aside from Chris Cole, who we do think one day is going to be really good, there are not many guys that you can point to on the defensive line right now and say, I know that's going to be a difference maker on Saturday. It really just kind of happens, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't go that low. I'd probably go more like a 5, just because I feel like Georgia's floor is probably a 5. Like, we just know how they recruit and everything. It's like they're not going to be bad. But, I mean, what did they give up? Like 130, 125, 130 yards a game on the ground a year ago? Like, that's the most in the Kirby Smart era, at least since 2018. I think that's the only other year where they were not a good run defense. And you lose, like Bo said, Mykel Williams, you lose Nazir Stackhouse. Like, even Warren Brinson was one of those guys, like not the biggest name, but just solid. And so you're replacing a lot of guys, like you're replacing them with a lot of, former 5-stars, a Jordan Hall, a Joseph Jonah Janye. So there's obviously those names, but like Christian Miller is definitely the most proven guy. I kind of think he got a little overrated in the offseason. Like, people were looking at the side of the logo on the side of the helmet. It's like, well, he's Georgia's best defensive lineman. He's probably first team all SEC. Like, he might be, but I don't think he's not that Jalen Carter, that Jordan Davis. I mean, for most just for you Georgia fans to hear this, we're probably never going to have another Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. Like, I don't know. I don't know that you're.
Yeah,
Jalen Carter might be the best defensive lineman in the NFL right now, and they don't make 6'6", 360-pound dudes that move like Jordan Davis.
They've got a kid, Elijah Griffin, who's kind of a freak right now.
That's true, and he is getting Jalen
very
Carter
young.
comparisons.
He's very young, and I'm not making any statements about how good he'll be. I'm just saying.
There we go, man. And before we get to our next topic for tonight, we've got the Amazon link for the Voice College Football. Shop on Amazon using the link to support the Voice College Football. You don't need to buy the product displayed. It doesn't cost you a penny. You get the same shopping experience with the link down below, especially with us being 2 months away from Black Friday. Who says it's too early to do some shopping? I mean, we're getting closer to the holidays as we know it. Walmart is getting Christmas decorations out already. So I say we start with our irons hot. Let's go do some shopping from Amazon, ladies and gentlemen.
Appreciate that. Hey, don't forget to go use your promo codes, y'all. Hey, while we're transitioning to this last topic, I like to do something a little different. And this is just unbiased. We both have our teams that we cover. We have our fandom at our helm, but this is an unbiased take moment. And we kind of compare. We kind of say, where's the edge? And we kind of just realistically look at this game. Look at what's happened previously in all the games leading up to this game, what we've seen on film from our standpoint, and find out where's the edge. So we've kind of talked about the keys to victory with what each team needs to do to establish that. But coming into this game, if you had to think unbiasedly, where's the edge? Let's start in the trenches. Alabama's offensive line, Georgia's defensive line. If you had to unbiasedly give the edge to one of these position groups, who is it and why? We can start with Matt.
Even though I was just questioning Georgia's defensive line, I'm also questioning Alabama's ability to run the ball so far this year. So I think Georgia just playing at home. I don't know. You have a different energy playing defense at home. I think I give the slight edge to Georgia on the defensive line. Okay. I know Alabama's got the first round picks, at tackle and everything, but I don't know. That's my take so far.
I disagree with that first round pick tackle thing that we have going on right now with Caden Proctor. I've been one of the vocal Bama personalities, or whatever you want to call it, that has been consistently, waiting for the consistency and production from him. I think honestly on this year's offensive line, everything from the left guard over is solid. The rotation that we're seeing. I'm trying to figure out why we don't have a left tackle rotating in and giving us a different look. But you're absolutely right. I would say Alabama has the edge, honestly, to just because of that experience factor. And from history, man, Caden Proctor shows up against Georgia. I don't know what it is about y'all that makes Caden Proctor wake up. That first round talent that everybody else sees, it shows up against Georgia. So if he can be first round Caden Proctor against Georgia like he's previously been, and we can continue to establish this push, we have a true freshman in Michael Carroll that gets in the game and provides a different level of energy. I've seen Austin P and Marshall and Tennessee push Georgia's defensive front around for majority of some of these games. All right, so I'm gonna give my edge to my experienced veteran offensive line at Alabama. What about you, Bo?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I do think that in Alabama we'll have a hard time running the ball. I just don't think that it's easy to come into Sanford Stadium and run the ball ever. And I think, Georgia is just as much as their edge guys have struggled in pass rushing this year and winning their one-on-ones that way on passing downs, they've been really solid in setting the edge in the run game, and they haven't allowed much just doing that. So I think Alabama will struggle to run the ball, but also I do kind of think they're going to have a lot of time to throw. I don't trust Georgia's guys to win their one-on-ones consistently. I think Georgia's going to have to rely on blitzing a lot if they want to get home. And that's a lot easier to do when you're playing at Sanford Stadium and you're able to feed into the crowd and, you get one sack and you get the crowd into it. But, a lot still has to happen for that to really come true. So I don't know. I think I kind of lean towards Alabama overall, but I do think that they will be living in a lot of passing situations, and I think that's going to really be the key.
What's up, Jackson?
Well, we'll say it's like the gentlemen have said tonight. We have to get our running game going, but I think our running game will be all right. Because like a lot of people have so many questions about, and understandably so. We just show everybody that our running game's not dead. We've got rocking and rolling because, like Coach said, we've got a committee of running backs. We show those Bulldogs that we're ready to roll on the running game. There's nothing that can stop the Alabama Crimson Tide, especially on offense. Because, like, the passing game, amazing. Has been amazing. That running game, it could be amazing too.
Yeah, I think we'll see a contrast in this game. All right, who has the edge? We're gonna go to the quarterback position. Ty Simpson versus Gunnar Stockton. And we'll start with Bo this time. Bo, you could start.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to Gunnar Stockton. I just think he's proven more. He gets thrust into the SEC championship in the middle of the game when Carson Beck goes down, and they find a way to win that game. And then he's got to start the Sugar Bowl, and yeah, they lose the game. But Gunnar Stockton played his heart out in that game, and he made a few mistakes. But overall, I mean that was a good performance. And as much as she did have his struggles earlier in the season, first couple of weeks pushing the ball down the field and being aggressive, I feel like he answered a lot of that against Tennessee. And so, in the three major tests that Gunnar Stockton has had so far, he has looked very good, and he's proven it. And he's got a real element to the ground game. He's not an A+ rusher, but he's a B rusher, and you can do a lot with that. And I just, as money as Ty Simpson has been in these last couple of weeks, I mean, he's like 41 of 46 his last two games or something like that. It's crazy. His big test against Florida State, he just looked rattled. He just wasn't making the throws. He wasn't throwing with timing, and a lot of that has improved. And I'm not going to dispute that against, they scored 73 against UL Monroe. They lit up a decent defense in Wisconsin. But going into Sanford Stadium and in that environment, when Alabama has just been a different team on the road lately, I think I trust Gunnar Stockton more in this one than I do Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same with Bo. Rightly or wrongly, I kind of feel like Georgia and Alabama have both played one game this season. Like I'm kind of judging them both completely on one game. For Georgia, it's at Tennessee, and for Alabama, it's at Florida State. Obviously, they had a great performance against Wisconsin. Maybe I'm too down on Wisconsin. They look kind of terrible so far this year, but obviously
Maryland spanked them, so you got an excellent
point. And maybe Maryland's solid. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so I'm kind of valuing those those one game for each guy more than the other two games they've played. And maybe that's wrong, but I think the fact that Gunnar did what he did on the road at Tennessee. I think that just kind of shocked everybody, and it should be a lot easier at home without 100,000 fans breathing down your neck every possession. But so I think I give the edge to Gunner as well.
I think you both made some solid arguments. I think you made some solid points. And the home factor is definitely going to give me the edge. I think Gunner Stockton has the edge, right? I think he's the most set up to be successful in this game. You have the home field advantage. You just come off the emotional win against Tennessee. There's some spots in that game where you can see you can take a few more shots. Is Alabama going to present those chances? You're at home now, a lot more comfortable. The field feels a little bit better. It feels a lot more like what you're used to as far as executing plays that you're comfortable with. And so, like you said, you got the crowd behind you. I think Gunner has the edge because of that. Now, when it comes to skill set, I think Ty Simpson is the more complete quarterback. I think his arm talent is a lot better. The way he layers the ball. I think there's a reason why that we haven't seen him throw an interception yet this season. He threw the ball 43 times against Florida State in the game where we were down by 3 possessions at one point. So in the rain, we can talk about the 6 drops in that game. 3 of them being from Ryan Williams in one game. We can talk about like all these different happenings in that game that kind of played a factor into why those numbers look like they look. But Ty Simpson still 200 plus passing yards against Florida State, and this was still a game where if they convert on that 4th and 6 in the third quarter, or 4th and 2 in the third quarter. We might see a different tone or a toner ending to that game. So I think as far as for this game though, who's set up to have the most success, who has the edge, I'm gonna have to agree with y'all, man. Gunner Stockton has the advantage right now with everything behind him, and this offense coming off of a semi-explosive game against a struggling Tennessee defense.
Agreed. Yeah.
Are we going to go position by position? Because I was going to add to that, but if we're going to keep going position, I'll save it.
Go ahead, add to it. We're just doing a few spots.
I think the X factor is not. I don't know that Alabama's wide receivers are like significantly better than Georgia's receivers, but Alabama's receivers versus Georgia's DBs compared to Georgia's receivers versus Alabama DBs, I think that's where you do have to give the advantage to Alabama. So it's like. There's 2 parts of the passing game: the guys that have to throw it and the guys that have to catch it.
Yeah, and that's what my side like overall for the game. Who I think performs better, or my bias kind of kicks in there. But I think there are some things that favor Ty Simpson and his skill set more with some of the struggles that Georgia's having on the defensive side. And if this game has to be a shootout, I like Alabama in the shootout. I feel like we'll have a lot more depth in some of these spots where you're going to need explosive plays. And I think our defense has a little bit more depth to force that 1 or 2 turnovers that make a difference in the shootout. So, but like you said, we was talking about quarterbacks, the who has the edge. I think Gunner Stockton has the edge. This is not going to be one of those games where he has to be great. I don't think he has to be great to win this game. If he comes out and is steady, if Mike Bobo gives him an opportunity to get in a rhythm early, that's a good thing for Gunner Stockton because then it nullifies the pressure that we want. And we know what a reactive Alabama defense under Kane Wommack looks like. It's not effective. So, Gunner Stockton for that one. And I'm just being unbiased.
I'm just glad someone else is talking about receivers dropping passes other than Georgia fans.
Hey, and you know what the sad thing is, man? It's only one. There's only one receiver, and you guys love. I mean, the Bama fan base loves to praise him. I think I'm harder on him than everybody. Ryan Williams. I think y'all saw the video with AJ McCarron calling him out. That was kind of crazy how he went in about the fingernail polish or whatever. But outside of that, the football aspect of things, you're a 5-star wide receiver, 2-time Mr. Football. And the 2 passes that you dropped against Florida State, 2 of those were just inexcusable, And even this last game against Wisconsin, man, he had one just was inexcusable. And you kind of worry and have concerns. We saw that from Julio his freshman year, and then it was, literally cleaned up by the end of that season. We never saw Julio with big drops again. So you want to see greatness be great. That's all.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like he was getting a little overrated this offseason. Not that he's not great, but he's just not in the Jeremiah Smiths level, in my opinion. I think Cam Coleman and Ryan Williams, I think they're right there. Like, they're going to be elite receivers. But Jeremiah Smith is just different. Like, he's the best freshman receiver I'd ever seen, honestly.
You know, it's crazy. I literally put out my top 4 receivers in college football right now. I had Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, Corey Moore, and then I had Ryan Williams. I think the Corey Moore is on a different level too. Out at Oregon, I think he's like route running, his strength at the top of the attacking the ball at the highest point. His in cuts are lethal. He gets on top of the DBs. He closes cushion so fast. I honestly think he might be a 4-3 guy. You know, the way he moves in game. So those 3 guys ahead of Ryan Williams, and they just play a different physical brand of football. Ryan Williams isn't built for that physicality, and it shows in certain games. And I think that's where Georgia is going to try to rely on. I don't think there'll be, you know, too much bracketing assignments from Kirby. Kirby has a certain pride about him. You know, he's not going to allow you to commit to make him commit to double teaming or keying on one guy. You know, he's going to do what he do because he has the better players. He has the better team. That's the mindset of Georgia. So there's going to be some opportunities for Ryan Williams to showcase his growth this game. It definitely is. And we got to see him look that ball in. But let's move to another spot.
Don't get me wrong. He's obviously a baller, but Georgia never moves their corners really. So I'm interested to see, like, if they keep Dalen Everett on him because that's the only corner you feel confident about. Yeah, Georgia never really does that. They typically keep their guys on their side and don't move them.
I would love to see the Dalen Everett matchup. I think that's the one he wins. That's the one where he kind of shines in that one. That's oh my God, Dalen Everett. That's cake. That's baby food right there.
Oh man,
I'm sorry, y'all. I love to see Dalen Everett over my number 1 receiver.
Yeah, I know Humphrey was the one that was getting burned by him a year ago. So I don't know. Don't sleep on Dalen Everett.
Dalen Everett is really solid, man.
I don't know, man. I mean, I saw Dalen Everett get cooked against was that Jermaine Burton 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I will say,
bro,
he was getting picked on when he was a freshman. 2023, he was getting picked on a lot. Because I mean,
anymore.
Yeah, with Kamari Lassiter, he was the one definitely people picked on. But
he's turned into the guy that they just don't throw on his side of the field anymore. Like last time you saw Tennessee, they were just picking on the other side of the field every single time. Like Dalen Everett was never the guy in coverage there.
Hey, we're gonna eat.
He's turned into that kind of guy.
We're
gonna eat. So let's talk about the matchup then, since we're already there. Before we get to our score predictions, let's talk about the wide receiver DB matchup, and we talked about Alabama's wide receiver versus Georgia DBs, but let's just kind of attack it from both angles. What's the bigger advantage? Is it the Alabama wide receivers versus Georgia DBs, or is it Georgia wide receivers versus Alabama DBs? What's the bigger advantage? Because I think both receiver rooms are great. I think both receiver rooms are talented. But who has the bigger advantage? Both secondaries have struggled in deep ball coverage over the past 6 or 7 games. The statistics show it. Alabama's been able to force more turnovers, but we still have given up some explosive plays, 20-plus yarders in the past 6 games. Same for Georgia. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to look at for me is definitely Alabama's receivers against Georgia's DBs, just because you have Ryan Williams go crazy in that game last year where he makes the, insane tip catch, and then he has the near walk-off touchdown at the end there. So you have that with that team dealt with that last year. And then you have last game against Tennessee where they ended up on an island multiple times and just let up these explosive touchdowns. So those two things compounded together, I think, are just really interesting to look at. That said, this is their first time getting Bama at home. I think they're going to come out ready to play, especially if they can't. And I think they're going to know. They're going to know coming in this game they're not going to be able to get much pass rush without blitzing. They're going to know that they're going to have to be on an island a lot of the time. And so, I don't know. I really do trust that group to bounce back. And I think they're going. I don't think it's a hot take to say they're going to play better than they played against Tennessee, because that was a disastrous game, really. So I still would have to lean towards Bama just because I can't completely overlook that. I can't just create this narrative and act like that Tennessee game didn't happen, because it did. But I still think there's really an opportunity for Georgia's defensive back room to really make a statement in this one.
Yeah, I think it might be the most important matchup of the whole game, because I think if Georgia shuts down Alabama's receivers, I mean, I think that's the scenario where Georgia wins big, like, and Alabama does nothing offensively. So I think there's also the scenario where, like I've said before, where Alabama does nothing on the ground and just torches Georgia through the air. So I think that's just like we're talking about Dalen Everett. I think whoever, Daniel Harris or Ellis Robinson, whoever it is, playing more as that second corner in this game, I think, whether it's Jeremy Bernard, whether it is Ryan Williams going to their side, I think that's where you're going to see, if Alabama's making big plays, that's where it's going to happen. So I got to give the advantage to Alabama there as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys, and I hate that I'm doing this tonight. But I just think right now, the way that everything's coming together, if Ryan Williams getting hurt in week 2 was probably the best thing that could have happened for the depth in his receiving core. We're still talking about Jeremy Bernard. We're talking about Ryan Williams. Isaiah Horton is waking up, and he's a big body receiver.
Horton, here's the tide.
Yeah, and I think that has been Georgia's kryptonite more than anything these past couple of seasons. Those big body receivers. Horton can be a primary target. He's not a possession guy. He can get vertical, and we know how Georgia has struggled against the vertical passing concepts. But Rico Scott, another Henry Ruggs type of receiver. Latia Brooks, we got, is a Waddle type receiver. Just a lot of speed that Georgia has yet to see this season. Now, what I will say is Georgia's faced a crazy talented group of wide receivers in Tennessee. Joey Aguilar, his passes weren't all accurate. A lot of those plays were made by receivers. Kind of like what Matt said earlier about the windows being tighter for Gunnar Stockton. I think this week we'll see how good the coverage is, because Ty Simpson has thrown some tight window balls this season, and a lot of them early against Florida State were dropped. A lot of them were dropped against Florida State. And I think a lot of that had to do with weather. No excuses, just being real. But you come into a game like this is an opportunity for a fourth-year guy. This isn't a freshman starting quarterback. This is his second road start. Another crazy environment. If somebody's supposed to be able to turn over the progression of learning and grow, it's Ty Simpson. And I think that helps a wide receiver core that's really starting to find themselves and find their rhythm. So I'm going to go with the advantage going to Alabama. And
I mean, the receiving core is a humongous advantage for the Crimson Tide, and it's gonna be a humongous advantage for the rest of the season to come, for sure.
Okay, 100%, man. Well, that's it for the who has the edge. I wanted to hit a few spots. Now let's get 4 underscore predictions and let's get on up out of here, y'all. This has been a great time. I enjoy you fellas, man. We might have to do something post game, man. I got a call-in show after the game. Y'all might have to come on the show and then give a take after the game, man.
Oh yeah,
we'll see. It depends on how it goes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I can go, I guess. I think something we haven't talked about enough in this game is that Alabama under Kalen DeBoer has just been a different team on the road. And what's the record? I think it's 2-4. Y'all can correct me on that.
2-5 versus Power 4 competition. Oh, away from I'm counting Michigan.
Okay, yeah. I just
that was the
real road environments.
Yeah, 2-4.
So real, they have that problem on the road, and they're going into a place where the home team has not lost a game since 2019. That is a pretty big deal. And as much as Alabama has owned Georgia in this rivalry, I'm not here to dispute that or say anything against that. They've never gotten them at Sanford before. It's just as many times as this matchup has happened in the last few years, it's kind of unbelievable. This is the first time it's happened in Sanford with Kirby Smart. And so I think that's a big deal. I think, as much as Alabama's looked better since the Florida State loss, they looked bad on the road against Florida State. They played a bad game. As much as the weather, was a thing in that game. They just did not look like the same team. So I think this Georgia team is going to come in with a lot to play for. Their defense knows they played a really bad game last week against Tennessee. They know what the narrative is against this team in this program. So I got to give the edge to the Bulldogs. And so I'm going to say 30-23, Georgia.
Yeah, I think Bo kind of hit on a few things I was thinking as well in terms of just this being the first time that Alabama's played a Kirby Smart team in Athens is kind of a crazy stat. I wonder, after Alabama's obviously domination in 2008 and in 2015, probably the game that really like solidified Mark Richt getting fired, I would say, that rainy day in 2015.
October 3rd on CBS.
Is that what it was? It really is. Sanford Stadium is a different environment since Kirby Smart got hired. And it's not just since they started winning championships, like 2016, that Tennessee game where the Hail Mary happened, and that Auburn, when they upset Auburn top 10, like it was just a different energy. It's like half the fan base doesn't want the coach fired every time they don't get a first down or something. It's everyone's rowed in the same direction ever since Kirby Smart got hired. And Georgia, I think Georgia rightly, Sanford Stadium rightly was criticized, I think, prior to Kirby Smart. And it wasn't the loudest environment. Now in these big games, Georgia really is. It's as loud as anyone else in college football. And you've seen the Tennessee game in 2022 when they came in as the number 1 team. Even that Arkansas game, that was the noon college game day game where they had like 4 or 5 false starts. Like I think the first 2 plays of the game were false starts. Like the amount of procedure penalties, especially when Tennessee came in last year, it's just that there aren't a lot of these big time night games that Georgia really gets at home for whatever reason. And I think for that reason, people kind of undersell what this home field advantage is. Obviously, it's the players that are a big reason for this winning streak, but 34 in a row, Georgia's won at home. It's I got to go with the Dogs as well. I think like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, everyone was just so sure this Georgia-Tennessee game was going to be a rock fight. Like, and then they go for 44 and it goes to overtime. I think everyone feels like this is going to be a shootout, which is kind of making me go the other way. It's like, traditionally you got to win 30 points to win this Georgia-Alabama game. But I don't know. I could see this one being a little lower scoring if maybe both of these defensive lines like prevent the other offensive lines from getting a push. So give me Georgia. I'm going to say 23-20.
Okay, go ahead, Jackson.
Well, I've been looking at the Alabama-Georgia matchup, and ever since 2008, only one time the Georgia Bulldogs have defeated the Crimson Tide, and that was in the 2022 national title on January 9th, I believe it was. It was on Monday, but still, though, Georgia's kryptonite has been the Crimson Tide. And I believe if anybody can end that home game winning streak, it can be the Alabama Crimson Tide. Why? The receiving core, Ty Simpson having more confidence in himself. The running game is going to be better. I mean, everybody has asked a lot of questions about the running game, but I think the questions about Alabama's running game will be answered on Saturday. And I saw a little bit of Tennessee, Georgia, and I couldn't help but notice that it was a little bit easy to pressure Gunnar Stockton. And I can see that Alabama defense being a nightmare for Stockton on Saturday. But it will be a close game in Sanford Stadium on Saturday. I think Alabama is going to win this one 31-28 on ABC.
Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna really break some things down. I'm not gonna break them down. I'm just gonna put out the narrative, and I'll be able to break them down post game as they tend to happen. But I want to say this. This is the game that I think Alabama fans, players, were kind of looking at this game week 1. I think this is the game everybody will kind of had their eye on. We make it to Georgia. We beat Georgia. This is where, you know, we solidify ourselves as being back as Bama. Well, getting punched in the mouth against Florida State definitely got us on the right track. And I look at it, it's not the opponent. I expect us to beat teams like ULM and Wisconsin. But when you're able to go and pinch a shutout against a team and put up 70 points, there's a certain level of focus that's required to do that, you know, regardless of who you're playing. If it was supposed to be done based off the names and the talent on the roster, based off of ratings and all of this, Georgia would have did the Marshall and Austin P in week 2 and week 3, right? We would have saw that. We would have saw that. So I look at, week 1 and week 2. and I look at the mentality of the approach of the Crimson Tide, and I look at some of the mismatch problems that can be created if you don't get home early. This offensive line is out to prove something. This Alabama offensive line is deep with depth. I think there'll be an early swap on Alabama's offensive line that'll be noticeable as far as the effectiveness and how we run the ball. I think that's what's going to be the surprise X factor in this game. Alabama will be able to have an explosive run game. Just being able to have Jam Miller out there for however many reps will give this run game a different look. It'll give the offense a different look. You got to expect Kirby to pay attention when Jam Miller's on that field, with everybody seemingly thinking Alabama running game is struggling. You know, so I look at this game and I say I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but the score will make it seem like a blowout. 38 Bama, 17 Georgia for the upset in Athens. I think Ty Simpson and this offense come out explosive, and Alabama's able to run the ball in the second half against this Georgia front that is not able to get a push against any quality offensive lines this season. So that's my take on it.
Man, that's bold. That's bold right there, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
And I usually, do we feel confident that Alabama's defense is better than Tennessee's defense this year?
Yes, I think especially up front. I think the depth up front this year is a lot better than where we were last year. And we weren't bad last year. We just didn't finish plays in the backfield. We had one of the same thing this year. Coming into this game, you had one of the higher pressure rates in the country. You know, Alabama's right now is top 10 as far as pressure rates on quarterback. So, and we're seeing a higher finishing rate against lesser talent. Let's be honest, but that builds momentum. Those live reps actually mean something when you're talking about a day and age where a lot of your scrimmages in college football throughout the spring and fall are no contact once you get, you know, at that level to put pressure on the quarterback. You know, even in season, your scout guy is not going to take many hits, your scout quarterback. So there's an adjustment phase in the first 2 to 4 weeks that you allow. You're kind of the people that know football and how things progress. You're kind of like, okay, I can understand. Now, 14 missed tackles in week 1 is crazy work by Alabama. That's just crazy, you know. But to know that most of those missed tackles came from the second level in the linebacker room, that can be corrected. We can see more effectiveness there as guys get comfortable with run fits. But the front, being able to finish in the backfield, whether it's against pass, is blitzing for a pass or defending the run game, I think that's going to be the key in this game. And Georgia's offensive line is having some problems. And if you can't establish the trenches, man, your defense is going to have to be out there way too many snaps. And you're not going to be able to convert third downs offensively. Your defense is out there too many snaps. That's when you see the difference in the game in these type of games. And I think Alabama can have that type of presence against Georgia.
Yeah, because as much as I want to say Florida State ran all over Alabama and Georgia can do the same thing, it just Gunnar Stockton has a dual threat, you know, element to his game. He's not Tommy Castellanos. He doesn't move like that dude. So it's not going to be the same. And I'm not going to say that like Alabama's not owned Kirby Smart, you know. I'm not going to go as far to say like Alabama has some sort of mental edge or the kryptonite or something, because so many of those games have been so good and Georgia did win the one and won the national championship. With that said, if they lose this one, I might have to change my mind. Like Alabama might just have some sort of mental edge that rattles Kirby, because at this point, like, this is the lowest ranked Alabama's been. Probably lowest ranked either of these teams have been in any of these matchups since Kirby arrived. The first one that's in Athens, it feels like this has to be one that Georgia wins. And that's another thing that concerns me, is that with Florida State or with Alabama already losing that game early at Florida State, like they need this game more than Georgia does. And so maybe they have an edge that Georgia doesn't. But I'm excited, man. And it's going to be an amazing game. Yeah,
I'm excited for it too, man. I'm excited for it too. So, on the way out, fellas, let everybody know where they can find your content and all your coverage, and you know, how they could support you and your growth in this industry, man. It was definitely fun. It was great having you guys on and collabing. Thank y'all for, you know, just sharing this space with us tonight. But Bo, go ahead and lead us off with that, letting everybody know where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, of course. Thank y'all, fellas, for having us on. That's a lot of fun talking to y'all. And definitely I'm excited to see how everything goes on Saturday. But Yeah, I guess subscribe to Georgia Bulldogs at the Voice of College Football. We make, I mean, it's mostly stuff about Georgia football, but we also make videos and stuff just about like, I made a video about like the history of Georgia's like alternate uniforms and like stuff like that you might find interesting. So definitely check us out if you're interested in that. Or you can follow me on X. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank y'all for having me on.
For sure. Matt, what's up? Tell them where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, we record live Monday, every Monday at 7:00 Eastern. I don't know if the Alabama fans are gonna tune in to us instead of you guys, but check us out. And then we also will come with the post game, the live instant reaction Saturday night. Shoot, that might be after midnight this weekend. We'll see when we end up going live on this one. But yeah, just give us a follow, subscribe to the channel. It's good stuff, man.
All right, Jackson, let them know what's up, brother.
Oh, they can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got numerous episodes of the Jacksonian coming your way. And I'm 304 subs away from that magic number 1,000. And for more updates of what I've got going on Alabama, the Voice of College Football, the Jacksonian, and the One Sweet Calls on the Paul Feinbaum Show, check me out on Jackson VOCFB on X/Twitter and on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543-908.
100%, man. And y'all already know where you can find me at Coach Smook on all platforms. Over on YouTube is where we primarily do our coverage for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We do team reporting and recruiting insider reports and all of the things surrounding Alabama football. We also cover Alabama women's college basketball. So be ready for that, man. Be kicking off here later on in October. We coming around for tip-off in women's college basketball. But also make sure you check us out on all the major platforms at Coach Smook, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook is the main platforms you can find all of our content and continue support. But most of all, subscribe, support to the Voice of College Football, man. We appreciate everybody for showing up tonight and giving us a great audience, great support, great conversation with Matt and Bo, man, representing the Georgia side of things. And I think you all are going to leave with a more knowledge base of what this game could look like because of the gentlemen here on this panel. We appreciate y'all. And if we don't have nothing else, man, y'all have a good night. And we'll catch up with y'all on this weekend, everybody. Y'all, much love.
I appreciate it, guys.
Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video whatsoever. And we will see y'all soon. And check out each of Alabama, the Voice of College Football, Georgia, the Voice of College Football on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcast, and iHeartRadio for audio. Stay tuned for more. And we will see y'all soon. Night, everybody.
VS iced it out.